that was what was most frustrating about all the financial advice I received. Was it didn't matter how many ways I tried to flip it and stick it and dip it, it just wasn't working for me. So as an ADHDer, money management is not my friend. You know, the little like impulse buy little section by the cashier? I can't make it through that. Don't even get me started. Don't set me loose in a Target. And then like that Amazon, like click to buy on their website. I can't, we had to break up. You're taking too much of my money. So impulse spending is kind of like a little known / little explored symptom of ADHD. I grew up in a really poor community around people who didn't know anything about personal budgeting or money management. So what little bit I did know came from them, and they gave really bad advice like, you can't take it with you, or tomorrow's not promised. So I basically developed a ton of bad habits that followed me into adulthood. What's interesting about ADHD is that kids that are born into lower socioeconomic statuses are actually more likely to develop ADHD. So now that I know that, looking back, I was probably taking financial advice from undiagnosed people with ADHD that were in my family who also had impulse spending habits. And so basically all of their financial advice was let go and let God. When I decided I wanted to change that, I went to a bunch of blogs and downloaded some apps. And I learned basically that saving and budgeting was all about putting money away for something in the future that I wanted, but I didn't have right now. So if I wanted to go on a vacation, the vacation was $1,000. Then I put aside $1,000 with the hope that eventually I would be able to go on that vacation sometime in the future. Financial management was always about like tomorrow, not about right now. Nothing about my experience right now. I could suffer right now as long as I got to go on that $1,000 vacation. For like neurotypical people, this could probably work, but then it's probably not working because most Americans live on a paycheck to paycheck. I don't know. Anyway, I just knew it wasn't working for my ADHD brain. So I apologize, future me, sis. You are not motivating current me to make different decisions. After I was diagnosed, I realized there's like a neurobiological reason for all this. So in the ADHD brain, the deficits are in a part of the brain called the anterior cingulate cortex, or the ACC. And so what that means is like, we don't have like a wait and see program. We want it right now, like right now. And it's the same part of the brain, interestingly enough, is responsible for emotional regulation. So, I mean, wreck your marriage, wreck your money, the brain don't care. In thinking about my life, it has never helped me to think about that far distant thing that I want but don't have. Like, that's too abstract for my ADHD brain. But it does help for me to think about that annoying, frustrating thing that's happening right here, right now. And for example, the dishes. Like, y'all, my personal hell would be to have an endless mountain of dishes that I have to clean for the rest of the day. Now, I know y'all thinking, just use the dishwasher. But I can't. You gotta load it and you gotta unload it. It's too many steps, one of them not getting done. In my world, washing the dishes was just like this constant source of daily frustration. But beyond that, it was a source of shame and guilt because like, hello, why can't you handle just this like one simple task? So one day I was watching Bel-Air and I was like, dang, like what would it be like to have a Jeffrey or someone to just like clean up and do the dishes that I hate doing? Now, ordinarily that thought would have probably just like rolled off and I would have just gone through my life continuing to complain. But for some reason, I actually stopped and looked it up, like how much it would actually cost to have a housekeeper or a house manager. And that was the first step to me building what I now call my rich life budget and really developing a relationship with savings and budgeting in a way that feels tangible so my ADHD brain can really get with it. So let's build it. Step 1. First, you're gonna put 6 columns on a page. In the first column, you're gonna list out all the household or family tasks that you hate doing. So it could be really anything. Honestly, I did it twice for fun because it's cathartic. But mine had things like cooking, obviously cleaning the dishes, dropping the dogs off at the groomer, picking the dogs up from the groomer. List it all right there. Step 2. In the next column, you wanna put the titles of the people that actually get paid to do those things in that list. So if you hate cooking, yours would be a personal chef. Obviously for mine, I hate dishes and housekeeping in general, so I had a housekeeper on my list. If you get to a place where you're like, I don't know, whose job is that to take the dogs to the groomer and pick them up from the groomer, it's probably a personal assistant. Step 3, find out what the hourly rates or the service fee for those individual jobs are. So if you had a personal assistant on your list, they're probably like $30 an hour. But if you had a housekeeper, they might charge $100 to $150 per cleaning, depending upon where you live. Step 4 is label the last 3 columns that are on your paper: monthly, bi-weekly, and weekly. And then you're going to just add up the total cost, the total monthly cost of having those individuals come out to your house in those frequencies. So if you had a housekeeper and that was the only thing on your list and they charge $150 a month and you only want them to come out monthly, then in your monthly column you would have $150. If you wanted them to come out bi-weekly, then of course you'd have $300, and so on. And so add all of those up to have your total monthly cost, and you have your rich life milestones. Step 5. So now you want to prioritize your team. Now that you know how much it costs to have these people come out for your optimized or your rich life experience, you can pick and choose where you want to start. For me, a housekeeper was an absolute must, and I needed that to be a minimum of bi-weekly. So I just had to focus on saving that extra $300 a month. That was my first milestone. Which also meant that the next time I was in Target and they were ringing up all these things that I had just thrown in the cart on a whim, and they got to be over $150 after 2 items, because y'all know Target is expensive, I had a choice to make. I was either going to commit to 3 weeks of dirty dishes, or worse, commit to doing them myself, or I could put all the stuff back and not get it. Y'all, I put the whole cart back. Now, this works better for me because rather than saving money for a $1,000 vacation to escape the fact that I'm now drinking my tea out of Tupperware because I refuse to wash the dishes, I can bring a little bit of that vacation experience into my here and now. And it's very low commitment. If I have the money, I get the service. If I don't have the money, I don't get the service. And then I just face the consequences. And it also gets my brain in the habit of putting money to the side and giving me an immediate point of reference for what it can mean. So I'm happy, my ADHD brain is happy, and my lived experience is a little bit better. There's more. So the first big payoff is it helped me think more concretely about my financial goals. If you ask anybody, everybody wants more money. Everybody wants more money. And if you ask them like, okay, well, what would change in your life if you had more money? They'll have like some general sense of like stuff they would pay off, maybe things they will buy, but otherwise nothing really changes in their lived experience unless they're like thinking of like more and they're thinking millions of dollars. So this helps me put a point of reference in how much everything could cost and how my life might change around the dollar, which means that the next time I go into contract negotiations about my salary and we're haggling over $500 or so, I know exactly why I'm haggling over it because I understand how having that extra $500 would really change my life. The other thing I get back is time. Y'all, time is your most precious resource. You don't get it back once it's spent. The average American spends like a year of their life doing household chores. And in the words of the old folks, tomorrow's not promised. So I want all the time that I have to be doing things that I could either be making money doing or at least enjoying myself and enjoying my life doing. Now, I've scaled things up in my Rich Life budget since then because there is nothing like having a clean house that you just get to enjoy. But I now have all this free mental space to do other things with instead of keeping track of all my household to-dos. Comment below how this perspective feels for you, and I will see you next week. Bye.